Steve, from what you saw around like gathering this account
Right,
intelligence, what Adam calls cataloging the
right,
market,
right.
does that relieve some of the pressure on marketing to stop being a pure lead generation function? Because I feel like a reason we're pushed to be a lead gen function is, of course, like the SDR AE split out, but it all comes back to this feeling of wanting to control the buy journey, wanting to know who is in market versus who is out of market. And because if sales aren't collecting this information, then who is? And then it's all of a sudden being forced on marketing to guess who's in and out of market. And that's just something we're not equipped to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on two or three really good things there, and there was a really good article, and it's one of two articles. I don't want to misname which one it is. I think it's one John Lombardo wrote that was published about 2 years ago, and it said, in the same way that great investors don't try to time the market, great sellers don't try to time the customer. Of this whole
Mm.
idea of we're going to amalgamate all these signals and we're going to make tons of assumptions about when they're in market. We're going to try to micro time the delivery of, pixel targeted ads, and we're going to personalize down to a picture with them and their dog. We know it's a retriever and blah blah. All of this, to me, just wasted energy. You're right. I always say that guessing is expensive and guessing gets people fired. So I
Mm.
don't like to guess on where I'm placing marketing bets. And one of the things about reporting to a CFO when I was in this CMO role is you can imagine a lot of scrutiny on any time you're in a quarterly review or I'm with the board up in Vancouver, Canada, every November for the coming year. And you're saying we're going to spend 9 million US dollars on marketing or 12 million US dollars or whatever. The obvious questions coming from the board or the other C-suite peers of mine are, well, how do we know, these accounts will be in market in the next 6 to 9 months? How do we know? There's a lot of you could fill in the blank. How do we know that we need to maybe double down on another Central European data center and put it there versus put it in South America from a capex with a 20-year recovery window, whatever? It removes a lot of the guesswork. And so we can say, well, great question. So let me tell you how we know, not with absolute certainty, but with fairly high directional certainty. It is true. People, you could talk to 500 accounts and they could lie to you categorically. But assuming these people are giving you, relatively truthful answers, we know these things because we're taking the time to get it firsthand. We're not relying on inferential signals and, $400,000 in Martech stack. The other thing it allowed me to do is turn in the room to the head of sales when they would say to him, his name was Jay, are you on board with this? And have him say, we're absolutely aligned in the accounts, and my team led the insight discovery. So, yeah, we're 100% aligned on who we're going to go after, account plans that cascade off of that by sales director regions. We've got a hit list from marketing of exactly what we need and getting on 2 analyst reports. We're going to do, and we did some things like doing a 10 to 20 city tour in the US and 5 in the UK where we hosted CIOs, and it was a half day golden ticket, and 80 influential, accounts got invited, and we created a real experience and actually changed the way we were doing the classic trade show and event nonsense that would never bring together in the room these target accounts. You guys know, you go to, I was going to Comdex in the late 1980s in Las Vegas, the first big global tech show, right? And CeBIT in Germany. And the truth is, you're running around, with a beer in the hand and running booth to booth, and you're trying to get the VP or whatever, who's one of your target decision makers, and you thought you had a meeting, and they look at the watch, and the assistant says, "Oh, they're flying back to the HQ a day early," and it's all the smokescreen, and you're fighting for 4 minutes of attention span, and nobody buys at a trade show. They're there for other reasons. It's and you come back, you spend 200 grand on that. And I thought, well, what if I could create 10 $20,000 micro events that's not trying to hit 100 of your prospecting accounts? It's 8 intimate settings. It's not a setup for a sales pitch. And we'll go into another time some of the ideas on how we did it. But when you have relative clarity on the target accounts, exactly where they are in the buying cycle. For instance, George, if I know you're not in market for 2 years and you and I are together in a VIP club at Heathrow or in Sydney, I'm not hitting you up to talk about buying next quarter. I mean, it just takes all of those silly, awkward conversations off the table. And instead, maybe we're on a golf foursome, we get paired up. You knew earlier I'm not a golfer, so whatever. We'll use another example, but you can have more informed conversations. You can have more informed conversations. And I agree with the point you made earlier that the reason marketers are grasping at straws, Adam said it at the top, the goal is leads, whatever you classify a lead to be. If they have a pulse and a purchase order, you shove them over to sales. But you have a KPI that's wrong. You have an incentive system built on the wrong KPI. Even though you can tell an executive team, do you know that only 20% of your quote MQLs convert to a sales accepted lead? So if you send 500 to sales, 400 are bullshit and you're wasting their time. They feel better with the activity of sending them 500 to net the 100. And then the sales guys claim, well, I don't have time to prepare for the sales call and go really in depth and all that because I'm filtering through so much junk that the SDRs send me. I'm all about why not just send them the 100 that we think are truly in market with a high propensity to buy, where we have really good ICP fit, but I'm going to throw another term out to you. And we represent high IVP fit, ideal vendor profile.